Folks, the mainstream medical establishment has been abusing our trust and has infringed on our abilities. They have systematically tried to prevent us from learning the truth about the health and wellness because they understand that if we knew the truth, then their entire money-making system would come crashing down. Let me ask you, have you ever noticed that every time you turn on the TV or open your newspaper or listen to the radio, you hear about how the cost of the healthcare system is just out of control? Ever notice the ever-increasing number of advertisements on the radio, all these commercials on TV, telling you about a new wonder drug to solve a problem that you didn't even know you had? Ever notice all the advertisements from the law firms promising financial rewards if you were injured by one of these new wonder drugs? Well, as a pharmacist and senior executive marketing director at Longevity Essential Life Sciences, we show people how they can save money on their medical costs. We show them how to escape from the medical tyranny and reduce or even eliminate the need for these dangerous pharmaceuticals. We also show people how they can get paid to share this information with others. Today we're going to be discussing the cause of chronic illness, heart disease, Alzheimer's, diabetes, obesity, and chronic pain. We're going to discuss the two keys to better health and longevity that Big Pharma hopes you never find out about, and why 99% of doctors pretend that they don't even exist. Attention, especially you baby boomers and seniors. Are you frustrated with hearing the lies and fairy tales concocted by Big Pharma every single day on their TV while they reap record-breaking profits? Well, get ready to be even more outraged. Right up front, I'm going to tell you this. This message might not be for you. If you're completely content with how Big Pharma and the government are running this healthcare system at a huge profit to themselves and an even larger deficit to the very people it's supposed to be helping, one lie after another, if you're completely content, then this message is not for you. If that describes you, then here's your chance to get up and walk away, confident in your choice to keep the blindfold over your eyes. However, if you're one of the brave, the frustrated, if you're ready to rip that blindfold off your eyes and pull the curtain back on just how sick this healthcare system has become, then hold on. Once you begin to learn the statistics and educate yourself, it becomes immediately clear just how broken our entire system of healthcare actually is. Unfortunately, if you remain oblivious, then you, your family, your friends, are all standing in line to become the next victims in the crosshairs of the Big Pharma. Before I continue and reveal the shocking secrets that I spoke of and how they're directly accelerating everything from heart disease, risk of stroke, memory loss, weight gain, hardening of the arteries, chronic fatigue, chronic pain, diabetes, and all the other diseases that are just building up in your body waiting for a breakdown, then I want you to consider a couple facts. Fact one, $2.3 trillion were spent last year to maintain our so-called healthcare system. $2.3 trillion. No other country in the world even comes close. Yet the brutal truth is that we're 60th in the world for quality of care. If you think that statistic is bad, what do you hear this one? In a ranking of the top 8 developed countries in the world, the United States came in dead last in years of potential life loss to circulatory disease, respiratory disease, and diabetes. And we had the second highest rate from bronchitis, asthma, and emphysema. Fact 3, our obesity rate is the worst in the entire world, and it's a major predictor for future illnesses. A new study from John Hopkins Bloomberg School of Public Health revealed that 75% of Americans will be overweight, and a staggering 41% will be obese by the year 2015. That's not very far from now. That means that less than 25% of Americans are actually within the good range for healthy weight. That's just sad, and it's really disgusting. But you can solve it for yourself and your loved ones if you know where the problem begins. Let me ask you this. Would you take medical advice from your local pharmaceutical sales rep? Would you? If you got your head on straight, of course you wouldn't. But you know who does? That's right, your doctor. It's scary but true. In fact, in an independent study, they actually surveyed medical doctors on how they chose what medications to pass on to you. 70% of them said the main factor was whichever sales rep can get through the gatekeeper in their office and gain access to them. Are they serious? That's a pretty frightening statistic if you ask me. And when asked directly how they gain access, one drug rep actually confessed that his secret is to find out what the doctor's favorite bottle of wine is and then deliver it. Now, I'm not saying that all doctors are bad people, don't get me wrong. Most of them are simply just too deep in the system to realize that they're doing anything wrong. They're overwhelmed with regulations and protocols that are designed by Big Pharma. And they're overwhelmed with fear. The fear that if they stray from these accepted protocols, that they're opening themselves up to litigation. But it's no wonder you're not being given the real truth and how you can live a long and healthy life. Because our government has allowed big pharmaceutical companies to take the wheel and drive our healthcare system while we are being medicated into oblivion in the back seat. And while we're oblivious, their research departments are hard at work designing medications for every single organ and disease that you can think of. And then they're using the bulk of their research budgets to put these new miracle drugs on television. So you can go and ask your doctor for the miracle drug to take care of a medical condition you never even knew you had. You know it. You've seen these ads on TV. It's a completely reactive system. None of these companies are staying up late at night burning the midnight oil to try to find a way to prevent the disease naturally. Nope, that's because they're not really in the health care industry. Natural remedies can't be patented. There's no money to be made in cures. So listen, without disease and sickness running rampant, they don't have a business. And all they're doing is giving us a Band-Aid to try to stop the bleeding once the disease is already there, making you the victim and earning them huge profits. You're living your life day by day. You're feeling great. Everything's going pretty good. You get those little aches and pains, You just don't quite have the energy that you used to have. And you say, hey, I'm just getting older. That's all. Then you go to the doctor, and the doctor tells you the dreaded news. You've got heart disease, or diabetes, or maybe even worse, cancer. How can it be? Maybe you felt like you've done a good job all your life. You've been taking care of yourself. You've been eating what the doctor told you to eat. You've been avoiding the things the doctor told you to avoid. You've been doing your exercise. What went wrong? That's okay, because Big Pharma is here to rescue you. But what if I told you that there was a way to prepare for that hypothetical flood of disease? So well prepared, in fact, that you don't even have to leave your home while the storm rages on all around you. Because of the research of our longevity expert, Dr. Joe Wallach, a veterinarian, a pathologist, and a physician, we know that all the diseases that are flooding our hospitals and our doctor's offices, all these diseases are directly related to what we put into our bodies, and more importantly, what we don't put into our bodies. We know that these diseases start far earlier and well before any warning signs or symptoms even are visible. Because of his research, we not only know that aging and the progression of disease can be slowed, but so much of the damage can be halted and even undone because our bodies were divinely designed in a way that our bodies can heal themselves. Think about this. When you cut your hand, your body knows what to do. You don't have to tell it what to do. So given the proper building blocks, the body has been divinely designed to repair and heal the damage that's been done. We finally zeroed in on the real reasons we age. We know why our bodies become so vulnerable to major killers like heart disease and diabetes and cancer. That means if you take an entirely different approach towards your health, you can practically escape disease and illness as you age. And there is a solution. I'm about to give you the 2 keys that Big Pharma hopes you never learn. Big Pharma is so protective of their monopoly of the healthcare system that they have actually lobbied the FDA to block any attempts to get this information out to you. In fact, the FDA has threatened a major walnut grower out in California to stop advertising that walnuts have health benefits because of their natural omega fatty acid content. The FDA threatened that they will declare that the walnuts are an unapproved drug and the FDA will shut them down. Also, in the name of protecting you and the public, the FDA threatened a major breakfast cereal manufacturer to stop claiming that the oats that their cereals were made from could help reduce cholesterol. The FDA once again threatened that they would confiscate the entire inventory of this breakfast food manufacturer because by making this claim that the cereal company crossed the line and are now selling an unapproved drug. But thanks to Dr. Wallach, he has successfully sued the FDA not once, but 7 times and won, so we can make some of the vital health claims. No one has ever done this before. Dr. Wallach, the best-selling author of the book and audio, Dead Doctors Don't Lie, with over 150 million copies in circulation, says that the 2 keys can be summarized like this. It's not what you eat that kills you, it's what you don't eat. He continues, the key to health is giving your body all 90 essential nutrients that it needs and to eliminate the landmines. That's right. The 2 keys are to give your body all 90 essential nutrients that it needs and to eliminate the landmines. Through his research, he has discovered how to reverse heart disease, chronic pain, diabetes, control weight, memory loss, and putting a permanent end to the merciless silent killers. Before I share any more, let's take a look at the real problem behind all this illness that the medical community is not addressing. The real cause of all this disease and illness is the lack of the 90 essential nutrients that are in our diets, coupled with the free radical damage and toxins that we're exposed to daily. That's what Dr. White calls the landmines. These nutrient deficiencies, free radicals and toxins, speed up the aging process and lead to illnesses of many different types. The veterinary industry has been using this principle from Dr. Wallach for decades and has eliminated over 900 diseases in animals that are still plaguing humans today. In fact, Dr. Wallach published his research in a textbook, Diseases of Exotic Animals, that is now in the Smithsonian Institute as a national treasure. Here's how the system breaks down. First, your cells become damaged because of all the landmines, from all the free radicals and all the toxins. Your cells are under attack each and every day from this free radical and toxins. They invade your system in everything from processed foods, trans fatty acids, exposures to household chemicals, environmental exposures, even chronic stress. Number 2, your cells are starving to death. That's right, just like your body, your cells need proper nutrition to live and to thrive. When your cells don't get enough of the nutrients that they need, they literally begin to shrivel up and die off, starving for the life-giving nutrients that they need. This is the second factor that accelerates aging and disease in your life. This combination of these 2 things is the big secret. When the cell is damaged, they lose their ability to reproduce themselves correctly, causing even further breakdowns, system failures, and in some cases even cancer. I want you to think about this for a minute. You want to make a photocopy. So you put your original in the machine, you make a copy. Okay, you want to make more copies. Do you continue to make the copies from the original? Or do you take the copy that you just made, put it in the machine, make another copy. Then take that copy, put it in the machine and make another copy. Then you take that copy, put it in the machine and make another copy. Well, you repeat this process enough times, then vital important pieces of information on that paper are lost forever. That's exactly what happens at the cellular level when free radicals and toxins attack and when your cells don't have the proper nutrition to copy themselves properly. When it happens, the vital important information is lost in the process and it leads directly to accelerated aging and disease. This is the huge secret that the doctors aren't even willing to talk about, let alone address. These 2 events then lead to inflammation in your body. A growing amount of evidence points directly to inflammation as the most insidious cause of premature aging in your body and a factor in every single disease. When your body's normal inflammation process goes haywire and runs off the tracks, your body releases wave after wave of enzymes and other toxins throughout the body, causing everything from cell damage to even cell death. These factors are working in the background right now in your body, causing serious disease and damage and disease. And yet nobody's talking about it. Why? Because if the medical community acknowledges this, then they lose their cash cow. the rampant diseases that we all suffer from. This must be recognized and dealt with immediately. When Dr. Wiley discovered that these factors were not part of the mainstream medicine's conversation about disease and illness, he knew he had to get this message out there. And when I read his research, I knew that I had to join him. I want you to think about this. The litany of issues that point directly back to these factors are so overwhelming that it's almost hard to believe. Just take a look at some of these. Problems losing weight. Did you know obesity is actually a malnutrition disease? We're so malnourished because of the lack of the 90 essential nutrients in our diets that we're actually eating ourselves into obesity. In the veterinary industry, this behavior is called pica and cribbing. We call it the munchies. A good farmer knows that when his livestock starts to chew on the fence post or the stall door or the buckboard of a carriage, that they're tasting the saltiness that our palms of our hands have left behind. And they're seeking the minerals in their diet because they're not getting them for some reason or other. So the farmer knows to prevent this pica and cribbing that he's going to put a salt block out there in the pasture for the animal to lick. Nobody's out there telling the cow or the horse that they can't lick that salt block. You're only allowed one lick a day. No, the salt block actually contains all the known minerals that animal needs to stay healthy. Farmers also know that if they want the animal to eat continuously so it can pack on the weight so they can get it sold off to the slaughterhouses sooner, they know that they have to leave certain nutrition out of the animal's food, causing the livestock to have unquenchable appetites. Well, the snack food industry knows this and does the same thing without regard to our health, as long as we buy their products. These compounds then cause further damage, causing these poor nutritional products are actually full of dangerous chemicals and free radical causing compounds to compensate for taste. These compounds then cause further damage, causing inflammation. This inflammation then slows metabolism as the body redirects its energies to fight off the invading toxins. This reduction of metabolism actually causes your fat cells to become fatter. All because the foods are so nutritionally depleted. We eat ourselves into obesity trying to get the nutrition that we crave. In fact, one of the snack food companies was so bold to say that you couldn't eat just one. Too much bad cholesterol. Did you know there's not one single disease caused by high cholesterol? The real problem is not cholesterol itself. It's actually a symptom of a combination of bigger problems. Did you know that mineral deficiencies actually cause weaknesses in the walls of the arteries? Sometimes these weaknesses lead to small tears. Free radicals in your bloodstream from all the bad stuff that we take in then attack these damaged tissues, causing the body to respond with its inflammatory response. And to protect the damage, the body begins to cover the damaged area with a cholesterol patch. The problem is that once the damage occurs, the free radicals that are roaming around our bodies then attack that spot even further, and the body responds with even more of an inflammation response and builds an even bigger cholesterol patch, eventually leading to a severely clogged artery. Instead of addressing the problem that's causing the damage in the first place, conventional medical treatment is, let's reduce the cholesterol. The damage continues in the background while we lower the cholesterol. Okay? The lower cholesterol state then causes the hormone system to be in imbalance, because cholesterol is the master hormone for all other hormones. That leads to things like low testosterone. You've heard the commercials about low T. Increased likelihood of diabetes. Even an increased risk of Alzheimer's and more. Like I said, cholesterol is the master hormone from which all other hormones in your body are made. In fact, our body only makes 10% of the cholesterol that it needs. The rest must come from our diet. And guess what? People with high cholesterol that maintain diets that are high in levels of antioxidants have far fewer risk of heart disease and heart trouble than people that have a low normal cholesterol diet with low antioxidant levels. In fact, research has shown that more than half of the heart attack victims have normal levels of cholesterol at the time of their heart attack. Memory problems and fear cognitive decline. Are you one of the people that have been convinced that losing your mental edge was just part of the normal aging process, just like your doctors and leading researchers? Well, it's just not true. As it turns out, conventional medical wisdom again is wrong. Your brain is made of tons of fatty tissue, predominantly cholesterol, also billions of nerve cells and other structures that are susceptible to free radical damage and inflammation. Low cholesterol diets and diets without all 90 essential nutrients have actually starved the brain of the needed building blocks that it needs to maintain brain health. Coupling this with the free radical and inflammatory damage and the fat-free diets that we've seen in the last years, we're now seeing an increase, a dramatic rise in dementia-related diseases just in the past few decades alone. Alzheimer's itself is a disease that did not exist 60 years ago. The best solution: feed your brain heavy-duty nutrients, all 90 essential nutrients that help put the inflammation out and provide the brain with the building blocks to help support and maintain healthy cell function. What about vision problems? Yes, even vision problems are directly related to degeneration of the cells caused by poor nutrition and diets that are full of free radicals and toxins. Here's an alarming fact. About 1.75 million Americans have advanced age-related macular degeneration with associated vision loss. And that number continues to grow to almost 3 million people by the year 2020. It's the leading cause of vision loss and blindness in America for Americans over age 65. And it's not age-related at all. That terminology implies that nothing can be done about it. The good news is, with proper amounts of supplementation, all 90 known essential nutrients, along with a heavy intake of antioxidants and the elimination of free radicals from the diet, the condition can be reversed. And Dr. Wallach has successfully done that many times. Fatigue and poor sleep sapping you of all your energy. If you're constantly feeling tired and fatigued, that's a clear indication that your body is trying to tell you something. And that message is this: you're in an energy crisis. The lack of the 90 essential nutrients combined with this free radical damage that I've been talking about from our poor diets and the environmental contaminants, they're poisoning your cells. And they're also attacking the little energy factories inside those cells, the mitochondria. These tiny energy engines inside the cells convert the nutrients that you're consuming into the energy, the fuel that it literally needs for every single organ system in your body. When deficiencies in toxins and free radicals attack these little energy factories, they break down on the cellular level, leaving your energy levels plummet. And that's what causes fatigue to set in. But you know what? By feeding these cells all the 90 essential nutrients and reducing the inflammation in your body, you instantly improve the function of these little guys at the cellular level, giving your body a boost of energy that lasts all day long. Are you suffering from chronic pain? Whether it's back pain or joint pain or fibromyalgia or just generalized aches and pains. It's all related to deficiencies of the 90 essential nutrients, and inflammation is causing free radical damage and the degeneration of the disc and the tissues. This pain is running rampant throughout your body because causing you to not to be able to do things that you used to do. And again, it's all related to deficiency of the 90 essential nutrients that leads to degradation of the tissues and inflammation. More importantly, this constant pain actually causes extreme stress, which raises your cortisol levels, throwing your entire body out of whack, speeding up the aging process, causing depression, weight gain, and even more. Most doctors will try to prescribe you with a pain management regimen that includes strong medications that only mask the problem without ever dealing with what the source of the pain is in the first place. It's kind of like you're driving down Interstate 75 out here. You're cruising down the highway, and all of a sudden that little red warning light comes on your dashboard, the check engine light. You've got two choices. You can get the car serviced, find out what's wrong, or you can ignore the red warning light. Now, when you cut that red warning light or you ignore the red warning light on the car, it almost always leads to more costly repairs, and in some cases even catastrophic failure of the engine. Pain is the red warning light in your body, letting you know that something is wrong that needs attention. If we mask the symptom or cut the red warning light, then just like in the car with pain management drugs, we never deal with the source of the pain. Over time, that causes even more degradation in the body, leading to catastrophic failure of your joints, your back, whatever. Here's the kicker. Most people will experience many of these symptoms and illnesses, then they'll go to their doctor for treatment. Most doctors then prescribe a medication or drug for whatever the symptom is, a different drug for every single symptom, and then they never really address what's causing the symptoms in the first place. As I mentioned before, Dr. Wallach, he was raised on a farm in Missouri. They raised beef cattle. He learned early on, in order to keep that herd healthy so they can eventually send them to the market, that they had to make sure the cattle got the appropriate vitamins and mineral supplementation that it needed. From the farm, he got a degree in agriculture. Upon graduation from agriculture school, he went on to become a veterinarian where he learned that if we used the human system of medicine on animals, then a pound of your ground beef will cost you over $275 just to pay the medical expenses. You see, the veterinary industry learned early on that they had to keep the animals healthy in the first place. After graduating, Doc went on to work for Marlin Perkins on Mutual of Omaha's Wild Kingdom. Many of you have seen that show before. They were working on the rhino conservation program in Africa. From there, Mr. Perkins brought him back to the United States to work on a 13-year project for the National Institutes of Health, where he did over 17,500 autopsies on 454 species of animals in zoos from all over the country, along with over 3,000 autopsies of humans for comparison. This is where he discovered that every death from natural causes was actually caused by one form of mineral deficiency or another. Let me repeat that. That bears repeating. He discovered that the death from natural causes was actually caused from one form of mineral deficiency or another. This prompted Dr. Wallach to write that textbook I talked about before, The Diseases of Exotic Animals, that was used in the veterinary schools and is still at Smithsonian as a national treasure. At this point, he began lecturing all over the country. He appeared on numerous television programs, 20/20 and others. His findings were ignored by the mainstream medical establishment. That's when he decided he was going to return to school himself and become a naturopathic physician. He spent the next decade applying his veterinary nutritional formulas on his human patients and saw amazing results. As a pharmacist, I've always been interested in the role that nutrition plays in disease and healing. I learned early on in pharmacy school how deficiencies in different minerals and cofactors caused or worsened certain diseases. I also learned that various herbs and phytonutrients play critical roles in relieving symptoms and in healing. I learned how every prescription medication, other than maybe the antibiotics, are designed to poison various enzyme systems in the body in order to create their desired effect. Let me tell you about what happened to me that got me interested in all this. I had a customer come in my store one day, and he said that he had heard that fish oil, specifically omega-3, lowered triglycerides. Well, at that time, there wasn't anything in the pharmacy books on how much cholesterol or how much fish oil to take. And he asked me how much he should take. So I told him, let me look into it, because I had heard that myself, and I wanted to check out exactly what needed to be done. So I began digging through all the research on fish oil, especially omega-3, and I must have pulled over 20 articles from different scientific journals and so forth. In every case, they had one thing in common. They gave the people anywhere from 6 to 9 grams of omega-3 fish oil. But by giving them fish oil at these levels, they saw inflammation reduce. They saw triglycerides go down, bad cholesterol go down, the good cholesterol go up. They saw diabetes get under control a little bit better. They saw people get off heart medications, especially their blood pressure medications. And then all of a sudden I came across one article that said fish oil did nothing. Now I remember back in pharmacy school I had a professor to tell me that if you have a whole body of evidence over here shows all these different things that did something, and then you see another article over here that says exactly the opposite of what all these others say, then you need to look at that one that's different. Look at it real seriously. You need to answer 3 questions. Who sponsored the research? What did they stand to gain or lose based on the outcome of that research? And what did they do to get the results that they wanted? So I began looking at that one article and found out it was produced by one of the cholesterol making companies. So right off the bat, I knew what they stand to gain if they prove that fish oil does nothing. then people won't use fish oil and they'll continue to use their cholesterol medication. So we know what they stood to gain or lose there. So the next question is, what did they do differently from all these other people to get the results they got? But what I found out is in that particular study, they gave everybody in that study 1 fish oil a day. They knew, based on all this other evidence out there, that 1 fish oil was going to fail. Then they got that study out to their drug sales reps, sent it out to all the doctors in the country, and told all the doctors, fish oil doesn't do anything, you need to continue to take our cholesterol medication. So that incident with fish oil made me go back and look at other research that said different nutritional products didn't work. And over again I found the same thing. That some particular nutraceutical used in research was chosen because it either didn't absorb into the body properly, or it was at a subtherapeutic dose, a dose that was less than what the other evidence showed out there. You've noticed all the news articles before. You'll hear on the news about how some nutraceutical, some nutritional thing does a wonder for your body. And then a few months later, you hear about some article published in JAMA that says it didn't do what it said it would do. Well, that's what I found out, that in every single case, when I would go back and pull those articles, I would find that it was either a dosage form that didn't absorb properly or a dosage form that was too low to give the results that you wanted. You see, the initial results gets published in some obscure scientific journals out there, and then the drug company goes and publishes their counter article in a major medical journal. Then they get it out to the drug sales forces, and they get it out to all the doctors, and they say that according to this article, in this major medical journal, this nutraceutical really doesn't work, so you really need to give your patients our overpriced, side effect laden prescription medication to treat their conditions. These companies know quite well that these doctors are overworked and don't really have the time to go out there and compare all the different articles. And in fact, in most cases, they don't even subscribe to those other journals in the first place. Around this same time, I came across Dr. Wallach and his research. I spent the next 2 years devouring everything I could get my hands on regarding nutrition and disease prevention. Finally, I couldn't ignore the evidence any longer. As it turns out, Dr. Wallach, in his veterinary research, was right. Most every single disease we suffer from, diabetes, heart disease, cancer, Parkinson's disease, most every single disease we suffer from in this country, if we were to trace them back far enough, we'll find a nutritional deficiency at the root. Even at the point of natural death, that's death that's not caused by some accident or some criminal activity. Even at the point of natural death, what it says on our death certificate is not what we died from. We die because some organ system somewhere in our body fails because it's not getting fed enough. That is, it's not getting sufficient nutrition. All 90 essential nutrients that it needs to keep the body healthy and allow the body to heal itself. Just like the obesity epidemic is caused by malnutrition, we literally die of nutritional deficiencies. Let me give you another example. This example shows what happens if we're deficient of just one of the 90 essential nutrients. Back in 1957, researchers came up with a wonder food pellet for turkeys. It was guaranteed to grow the turkeys bigger, faster, and fatter, so they'll all be ready to be harvested at the same time in time for Thanksgiving. The problem was, they all died. Farmers were picking up turkeys by the bushel baskets full. It was the worst year ever for turkeys. They took these turkeys by the truckloads down to the labs for them to figure out what's going on. They opened up these turkeys, and guess what they found? They all died of ruptured aortic aneurysms. Every single one of them. The researchers knew then that something was missing in that food, so they analyzed the liver, the blood, and the muscles. And what they discovered is that the turkeys all had a copper deficiency. See, the elastic fibers in the arteries of the turkeys, just like in ours, need copper for tensile strength. The next year, they reformulated all the pellets. They doubled the amount of copper, left everything else the same, and the mortality rate for ruptured aortic aneurysms dropped to 0. You ever seen those little alfalfa pellets that they feed to the lab rats and mice? Maybe you've had a classic pet rabbit or a gerbil or a hamster or something. Well, those little pellets that they feed them, what's the point of my question here? Well, those little alfalfa pellets that they give those animals, they're not just alfalfa. They contain all the essential nutrients known to be required for that species of animal to have excellent health. How do we know that? Well, they actually manually enrich each of those pellets with the vitamins, minerals, amino acids, and fatty acids the animal needs. They don't rely that it's all there in the alfalfa to start with. They manually put it in there. They do the same thing for dogs, cats, horses, pigs, goats, ducks, you name it. The important part of all this is that over the years, veterinarians and veterinary science and researchers have almost doubled the life expectancy of many different species of animals and eliminated over 900 different diseases in animals by simply giving the animal every single nutrient that it needs based on its body weight. In fact, the veterinary nutrition industry has nearly tripled the life expectancy of dogs just with these simple nutritional pellet formulas. Did you know that the animals get many of the same diseases that we get as human beings? For instance, animals can get diabetes, arthritis, and heart disease, yet somehow veterinarians have successfully prevented and cured all these diseases in animals. That's unless, of course, we feed them human food. Did you know that Purina puppy chow has 44 minerals? Purina rat pellets have 22 minerals. You know how many minerals are in a can of baby formula? Check it out for yourself. Maybe 12. So, why can't the same thing be done in humans that's being done in animals? I got to looking at this phenomenon. I discovered that disease after disease in veterinary medicine that was similar to disease in human medicine was eliminated with supplementation. So why is it that the country that was once known as the breadbasket of the world, why is it that we're now dying of diseases related to mineral deficiencies and malnutrition? Well, we need to go back a little bit in time to get an understanding of what's going on. I think everybody here is probably familiar with the Laura Ingalls Wilder's and the Little House on the Prairie. Now, I don't know how many of you have actually read the stories or not, but back in the 1800s, they were a typical family of their time. They were small family farmers, and they moved around a lot. They never really told you why they moved around a lot, but they would work their farms for 3 to 5 years, then their yields would drop dramatically, and eventually it would force them to have to move to a new piece of land and start the process all over again. So, what was the problem that caused production to drop so drastically that they had to move? It's because the soil was being depleted of all the minerals. The crops took the minerals out of the soil and nothing was putting the minerals back in. The only way to beat the cycle was to own a piece of bottomland near a river. Every few years a flood would come along and flood the river bottomland, bringing silt and fresh topsoil from hundreds of miles upriver, and it would replenish the soil of its nutrition. Bottomland was expensive, so very few farmers like the Wilders could afford that. Like the Ingalls, I should say. Now, when you repeat this process over and over again, you can see what happens. The soil is continuing to get even more and more depleted over time. Now, back in the 1900s, scientists figured out a way to give the crops what they needed to thrive in these nutritionally depleted soils, so that farmers wouldn't have to continue to move around like that. That's when they began fertilizing with nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium, NPK. All plants have 3 basic nutrients that they need to survive. This gave the farmers the maximum yields that they could get at the smallest price. So early in the 1900s, we began putting NPK into the soils. I want you to think about this now. It takes 3 to 5 years to deplete the soil of all the minerals. So that means for the last 100 years, the soils have been depleted of all these minerals except for NPK, the 3 nutrients that the plants need to survive. In fact, the 74th session of Congress looked at this and came up with a statement I want to read to you. Our physical well-being is more directly dependent upon minerals we take into our system than upon the calories or vitamins or on the precise portions of starch, protein, and carbohydrates that we consume. The document continues. The alarming fact is that the foods, fruits, vegetables, and grains now being raised on millions of acres of land that no longer contain enough of the essential minerals are starving us. No matter how much of these fruits and vegetables we eat, no man of today can get enough fruits and vegetables to supply its system with all the minerals he requires for perfect health, because his stomach isn't big enough to hold them all. Now that was from the Senate document number 264 in 1936. So what's changed since then? Nothing. We still fertilize our soils with NPK, and our foods are still minerally depleted. Now that explains the steady rise in the medical problems that we've seen over the past few decades, but what explains the exponential increase in the last few years? Well, it's a combination of these minerally deficient foods that we consume and the highly processed, preservative-filled foods that we consume today. These foods have very little nutritional value, and they're loaded with free radical-causing compounds. For the first time in 200 years, American children have the life expectancies shorter than that of their parents. It's shocking that this shocking decrease in life expectancy appears mainly to be due to rampant obesity. But is it? In addition to widespread obesity, chronic diseases and illnesses of all kinds are now appearing at astronomical rates among our youth, according to a new study from JAMA. Childhood asthma has increased over 200%. The rate of obesity is up 400%. And neurodevelopmental disorders such as ADHD and autism have gone through the roof in the last 30 years. The survey also found that 60% of children had at least one cardiovascular risk factor, and 30% had two or more. Overall, the number of chronic illnesses and disease in young people has increased over 500% in the last 40 years. Another study found that children with chronic illnesses were 3 times more likely to develop acute conditions that would require hospitalization, and many would die. Because you're older, does that mean you're out of the woods? Not really. A recent comprehensive review found that neurological disorders have been grossly underestimated and that neurodegenerative diseases are reaching frightening proportions. Autoimmune diseases like lupus, rheumatoid arthritis, etc. Certain cancers like leukemia, multiple myeloma, lymphoma, and a number of other endocrine-related disorders have all exploded in recent decades. Modern medicine gives you expensive drugs to treat these symptoms, cut the red warning light, but none of them cure the disease. They only prolong your life in a less than favorable state. That is, less than favorable unless you're a big pharma. Our health is the perfect condition for their pocketbooks. That is why we have the most expensive healthcare system in the world, but we are by far not the best. Okay, you say, Keith, all this information is good. I understand that supplementing with all 90 essential nutrients and staying away from the landmines will prevent these medical conditions, but it's too late for me. I already have diabetes, hypertension, multiple sclerosis, fibromyalgia, etc. It's too late for me. Well, that's not true either. It's not too late. Remember, just like when you cut your hand, the body was divinely designed that when provided with all 90 essential nutrients and you avoid the landmines, it will repair itself. I've seen it firsthand. I'll tell you about a Mennonite community I'm working with in Alabama. We've got one Mennonite guy there. He's in his 40s. His back was so deteriorated that he was taking the maximum amount of pain medication the doctor would give him. And just, literally, in just 1 month on Dr. Wallig's formula for the 90 essential nutrients along with some things for his back issues, within just 1 month he was off his medications, his pain medications. Maybe taking one a month, one a week or so. Within 2 months' time, his back was feeling better to the point that he was able to return to his work, fully able to work again. So that was just one case. Another case that I saw involved a Gulf War veteran. His name is Buck Steffens. He was in the first Gulf War. He was a Marine. He's one of the first Marines in. Because of whatever he was exposed to over there in Desert Storm, he came back and started having medical conditions. Well, his medical conditions grew worse and worse over time, and it got to the point where he had diabetes and was completely out of control. And in fact, in August of 2011, his diabetes was so bad, his foot was starting to turn gangrene. He went to the VA hospital. He even had decided at that point that his life was going to be over. He's going to move back home with his sister just to die. He had given up. So the VA hospital looks at his foot and said that they need to amputate that foot, but because they're so far behind government health care, They're so far behind they could not get to his foot until December of 2011. So they scheduled a surgery for December of 2011. But just so happens that Dr. White's company about the same time had bought out the company that Buck Steffens was working for, and he got a chance to meet Dr. White and told Dr. White what was going on. So Dr. White says, hey, look, what have you got to lose? You know, in December they're going to cut off your foot. Give me 90 days and let me show you what I can do. So Dr. White put him on a protocol for blood sugar and some things for his gangrene foot. And when I met Buck Steffens in November of 2011, remember, this is August 2011. I met him in November of 2011. The gangrene was gone. His foot was back to normal. And the doctor had taken Buck off of all his diabetic medication. And I was told in pharmacy school you couldn't reverse that. So the answer is that researchers have found that humans need a total of 90 essential nutrients on a daily basis to maintain optimal health. If you're lacking any one of these essential nutrients, over time, the body will develop a disease. We must supplement with all 90 known essential nutrients because we're not getting them in the foods we eat. We must increase our antioxidant levels drastically. We must, as Dr. White says, avoid the landmines. That is, cut all the bad stuff out of our diet. For optimum health, we need 60 minerals, 16 vitamins, 12 amino acids, and 2 to 3 fatty acids. Now, I've teamed up with Dr. White to help handle this serious and potentially deadly topic, and more importantly, to create a game plan for you. Remember, Dr. White says, it's not what you eat that kills you, it's what you don't eat. The key is to give your body the 90 essential nutrients that it needs. The question is, where do we get these 90 essential nutrients? Well, since we can't get them all from the food that we eat, then we need to supplement those nutrients, and Dr. White has developed his Healthy Start Pack to do just that. With Dr. White's Healthy Start Pack, you get all 90 essential nutrients you need every day based on your body weight to live a healthier life. We call that 90 for life. Even if you're perfectly healthy, you still need those 90 essential nutrients to keep your nutrition at the optimal level to prevent disease in the future. You can picture the 90 for life as the center of a flower. And we've got over 700 other products in Dr. White's company that make up the petals of the flower. Now these petals represent products for health concerns, such as maybe you have some blood sugar instability, so some things you add to that, or maybe you have some joint pain or degenerative disease, so there's some things you add to that. You maybe have some digestive issues, so there's some things you add for that. Your individual needs will determine what petals that you add to your 90 for Life program, if any. But with proper supplementation, our bodies have the remarkable ability to beat back aging and the cursed diseases that come along with it. By supplementing with all 90 essential known nutrients at the appropriate levels based on our body weight, our bodies have a fighting chance. When I say supplement, I'm not talking about going down to the drugstore and getting a multivitamin supplement that you might find at the discount store or something. Those supplements were designed to give you the minimum requirement to survive. A few years back, it used to actually say minimum daily requirement on those vitamins. A few years back, the pharmaceutical companies lobbied Congress to change the wording on that to recommended daily allowance. You see, what it says on that bottle is what you need just to survive, not what you need to thrive. So, do you want to just survive so the healthcare system can keep you around a little bit longer to pad their profits? Or do you want to thrive, disease-free, pain-free, with vigor and vitality that you had in your youth? I choose to thrive, and that's why I supplement with all 90 essential nutrients from Dr. White, where I get all 90 known essential nutrients with the 90 for Life program. Do you want to die at 75.5 like your grandparents or your parents? Do you want to be sick or miserable for those last 10 to 15 years of your life like your parents or your grandparents? If not, then break free from the medical tyranny that's controlling the healthcare system and join our revolution. Like I mentioned before, Genesis Communications Network and Dr. White have teamed up to get this message out to the public. The economy is really tight right now. With the impending implementation of the Affordable Care Act, we realize that things are going to get a lot tighter. Employers are going to be cutting back on their health and wellness benefits, or they're going to face stiff penalties from the mandates. Many employers are going to be asking its workers to reduce the number of hours that they work, or even reduce their pay, or even eliminate jobs in some cases, just to cover these costs. And this may sound crazy, but all this doom and gloom in the economy and in the medical news, it really excites me. It excites me because by teaming up with GNC and GCN and Longevity, I, for the first time in my life, am at the right place and the right time. Industries like ours have seen explosive growth in down economies. Just in this past year, I have personally seen over 300% growth in my own business alone. Let us show you how you can work part-time from home without interfering with your current employment. Let us show you how you can earn a car bonus and stock options in Dr. White's company. Let us show you how you can earn an extra $500, $1,000, $2,500 per month part-time by being a revolutionary for Dr. White's Army, helping to spread the word on how to quit being the money machine for the medical establishment and take your health, your wellness, and your financial well-being into your own hands, just as our brave ancestors did over 200 years ago when they said, "I've had enough."